From the fall of 1998 until the summer of 1999, whenever Jenna came to New York, we would always meet up like this. It happened 5 times. But after that day, our meeting places shifted from shopping to musicals, concerts, art museums, restaurants, and Soho. She never forgot to bring up matters related to our bank accounts. Perhaps she wanted to define or justify these outings as meetings regarding her assets and the simple recreation that followed. Back then, both Jenna and I were single, so these meetings weren't really anything special or taboo for either of us. However, it's true that she was very cautious about our brief outings, worried they might become the subject of gossip. Even when we went to Soho, whenever we entered or exited various galleries, if she spotted any Koreans or other Asians nearby, she would suddenly lower her head or open the door again and step back inside. She did the same at art museums, though she seemed much more natural in restaurants, perhaps because they weren't Korean restaurants. I recall that during musicals and concerts, thanks to the dim lighting, I was able to see her at her most relaxed. After that strange first meeting, I saw no trace of Jenna's arrogance. However, her attire, spending habits, the places she frequented, and her manner of speaking were very different from the young Korean women I had encountered. While my own spending habits were also on a different scale, thanks to my company and industry, Jenna seemed to live in an entirely different dimension. She used to bring a puppy along, and even that puppy seemed different. Our conversations were simple, without any personal questions. I had heard stories about her and read about her family in the newspapers, but Jenna never asked me any personal questions. Our conversations, for example at a restaurant, went like this.
How's your lasagna?
It's okay.
Mine tastes a little undercooked. It's a bit hard to chew.
Should I ask them to fix it?
No, I think I'll just wash it down with a Sprite.
At art museums, we exchanged our ideas and thoughts, usually like this.
Earlier, what did you say about this painter?
Oh, Sargent was an American Impressionist painter, and the portrait of Madame X is probably his most famous work.
Oh, that's right. I forgot again.
Do you really need to remember that?
Not really, but I guess my memory isn't that great.
Even conversations like this only happened once every 10 or 15 minutes. So we were more like people just walking together than actually having a conversation. But I often thought it was nice that this kind of conversation wasn't burdensome. I believe that the more people talk, the more draining and tiring it becomes, and I still hold that view today. After the fall of 1999, our outings like this came to an end. My workload suddenly increased, and Jenna, understanding this, communicated account-related matters solely by phone, either directly with me or through my team secretary, without meeting in person. This change turned out to be fortunate, as 2001 marked the beginning of my frequent trips to Korea, and the level of busyness began to shift. However, without informing my clients, I managed these clients' assets at night in Korea and during the day in New York. Ever since I started traveling to Korea in 2001, I've been flying there quite frequently. From 2001 to 2003, I made the round trip twice a month. From 2004 to 2010, once every 2 months. And since then, about once every 3 months. I don't know how they found out, but about 12 hours after I booked my flight, someone had already paid for it in full. At first, I was happy, thinking it was automatically paid through some contract between my company and the airline, but that wasn't the case. It was my responsibility to pay. That's why I was even more puzzled. But I didn't realize that Jenna had been covering my flight costs until after I returned from a trip to Korea in the spring of 2001. I found out when I called the airline to inquire. When I called her to ask what was going on, she said, "It's the least I can do to show my appreciation. Please accept it." She pleaded with me in that characteristic tone of hers, neither cold nor warm. After that, I tried several times to pay for the plane tickets myself, but the money kept coming back to me via refund, so I had no choice but to accept her generosity, even though I didn't want to be indebted to her. This kindness continued until 2018, when we closed our joint account. There were no more outings like those from 1998 to 1999 after that. While the fact that we both became busier with work was certainly a reason, as is often the case with relationships, once a certain flow or pattern is broken, in our case becoming too busy to meet, it's not easy to return to the way things were before. It was only natural, but after turning 30, Jenna got married, had children, and became a middle-aged entrepreneur, balancing family life and work. She ended up managing part of the family business. Despite being so busy on special occasions, such as major U.S. holidays like Christmas and Thanksgiving, as well as my birthday and promotion anniversary, though I'm not sure how she found out about them, she would prepare something in advance and always have it delivered to me in person. I would call her each time to express my gratitude, and every time she would say,
It's the least I can do to show my appreciation. Thank you, as always.
That's what I said. Looking back on those events from 1998 to 1999, whether they were a source of interest or a bit of a deviation, whenever they pop into my mind now and then, they make me smile. Strangely enough, I often find myself asking, what if? Wondering how things would have turned out between us if our relationship had developed further. It's true that she was the one who first invited me into her world, and I didn't refuse that space, even though our encounters were marked by a tone that always felt somewhat distant, and conversations that completely excluded any personal elements. But even back then, and still now when I think about it, this kind of relationship was also very comfortable and reassuring. In managing her assets, I outperformed the market almost every year, but everything comes to an end eventually. Now, 2 years after her account was closed, all contact from Jenna has ceased. Of course, when we said our final goodbyes and shared a fitting dinner to wrap things up, it was, naturally, a goodbye, similar to a professional courtesy. I felt no lingering attachment, regret, or perhaps even baseless resentment. Given that it was a long-standing professional relationship spanning over 20 years and held significant weight, I wondered if the void left behind would inevitably have an impact. Yet strangely enough, I didn't feel that way at all. In a sense, we brought things to a mechanical and dry conclusion. I sometimes wonder if I'll ever have the chance to speak to her again. Since she was usually the one to reach out to me in the past, I imagine that's how it would happen if she did contact me again. But even so, I can't help but worry about what our relationship would be like if it weren't just a professional one. But perhaps this worry is unnecessary. From the moment we first met over 20 years ago until our relationship ended in 2018, our paths were like parallel lines, never converging or even coming close at any point. So it seems unlikely that these two lines will ever meet or grow closer. Whenever I think of this person, the song Welcome to My World comes to mind, the Anita Kerr Singer's version from 1968. That song was famous as the theme for Korean Air's commercials in the 70s and 80s, wasn't it? It's a tune that stayed with me ever since I heard it on TV one day before I immigrated to New York as a child. The lyrics and melody are so soothing. Just like back then, over 20 years ago, and just like the lyrics of this song, if I had the chance to let go of all my thoughts and worries and spend time with this person in peace, I would gladly accept without hesitation. Just like back then, as if nothing had ever happened.